Chapter 13, Doreen. That night, Dante Santo was voted cutest baby in the world by National Organization of Optimist Babysitters. The NOAB had a single member, Doreen Green. After casting the winning vote for Dante, Doreen made a paper crown and placed it on his head. "Gaba," said Dante by way of his acceptance speech. He was sitting up on the floor and gnawing on an Iron Man action figure. "You know, his facial hair is compensating for a lack of tail," said Doreen. "Bap." "Totally," said Doreen. The award ceremony was interrupted by the distinctive sound of squirrel claws tapping at the window. Doreen lifted Dante onto her hip and went to open the window to Tippy Toe. Only it wasn't Tippy Toe. "Oh, hi," said Doreen. "You're one of Tippy's friends, right? Fuzz Fountain Cortez? What can I—" The squirrel was spasming with excitement, pointing and chittering, tail wagging. She hopped down onto the carpet and tried pushing Doreen's legs toward the door. "Hang on, what's up?" "Chick-chick-chick-chick." Doreen gasped. "Is Tippy Toe in trouble?" But, she looked at Dante. Dante grabbed her nose and said, "Baba." A minute later, Doreen was running, and Dante was strapped to her chest in a baby carrier. He faced forward, his arms and leg kicking wildly with excitement, his mouth open in a huge grin. Doreen ran so fast, Cortez gave up and rode on her shoulder. Doreen ran so fast she had to release her tail just to keep her balance. She ran so fast maybe she could have raced raindrops with Cortez and won. She pulled up short in the impromptu garbage dump behind the decaying burger and bean bowl. There were squirrels everywhere. They were all speaking at once, creating a unified, chittering noise, impossible to understand. The squirrels gathered around Doreen and pushed her forward. She couldn't tell what the furry wall wanted to see till she found herself standing before a sudden and very deep pit. And in the pit were three creatures. Tippy Toe, a second squirrel of considerable girth, and the others referred to as Big Daddy Spud, and a large black dog. The dog was going cuckoo. Cuckoo? Oh, whatever. Barking and growling, both trying to jump out and nip the squirrels, and the squirrels were both trying to jump out and keep from getting nipped by the dog. Sooner or later, someone was going to get nipped. Easy peasy. Doreen would just jump in, grab the dog, hold still while Tippy and Big Daddy Spud escaped, and then climb out with the dog in her arms. Oh, she had a baby on her chest. Dante shook his tiny fists and declared, "Ba, ba, ba!" "Chicket!" all the squirrels said, noticing the baby for the first time. They lifted their heads to smell the infant. There was a kind of reverence in their eyes. "Squirrels like babies, right?" said Doreen. "You'll take care of them?" She unstrapped Dante and set him down, looking for the cleanest spot. But she needn't have bothered. The baby's bum never touched the earth, cushioned instead by the backs of dozens of squirrels who threw themselves beneath him. Dante giggled on his squirmy, tilty fur rug. That left Doreen free. She jumped down. Tippy Toe leaped onto Doreen's head and from there out of the hole. Big Daddy Spud followed her. The dog leaped too, teeth bared, straight up Spud's tail. But Doreen caught him first. She hugged him while he struggled. "Easy, boy, easy," she said. With the dog in her arms, she jumped straight up out of the hole and landed on the garbage heap. She pulled some rope out of her utility belt, tied it around his neck, and secured him to a post. Embedded in the post was one of those creepy, buzzing, doll-eyed bug machine things. Doreen yanked it out and smashed it. "We gotta do something about the dogs around here," she said. "They aren't happy and they sure as heck aren't making squirrels' lives any easier." But no squirrels were listening to her. They were all gathered under and around Dante, sniffing him, tickling him with their tails, leaping over his head in joyful acrobatics that made him squeal with pleasure. "Squirrels sure like babies," said Doreen. Tippy Toe sneezed, the kind of sneeze that meant, "We don't just like babies, we adore babies." Then Tippy Toe sneezed a "can I get your attention" sneeze. The squirrels' gleeful chirps hushed and they looked to Tippy Toe, who stood high on a discarded lamp. From that stage, Tippy Toe recounted many tales from squirrel folklore. It was humans who first stole squirrels from the forest and brought them into the park. The squirrels didn't trust the humans and wouldn't stay. And just try keeping squirrels somewhere they don't want to be. But then, one day the park added a playground and a sandbox, and the playground and sandbox attracted babies. "Chicket," said Tippy Toe. The other squirrels nodded. "Chicket," they said in unison. Babies. Babies smelled interesting. They spoke a language more full of coo than chuck, but it clearly had developed from the same morphological root as chitter speak. And most importantly, babies were always dropping food. Squirrels were certain that the food dropping thing was on purpose. Babies recognized squirrel as significant beings and so made them offerings in the form of delicious sidewalk food. Squirrel folklore was full of stories about babies dropping treasures like peanut butter sandwiches, peeled bananas, half-full packets of gummy bears, and on one legendary occasion, an entire hazelnut layer cake, frosted. Not to mention that babies were closer to squirrel size than to human size, plus the cute thing. All this made babies and squirrels natural allies. Once babies had entered the parks, squirrels decided it must be safe for them as well. Wherever squirrels roamed, they watched out for babies. And in turn, babies honored squirrels with coos, drool, and the occasional upended baggie of Honey Nut cereal. "Chicky chuck chuck," said Tippy Toe, and the squirrels nodded solemnly. Dante made a wet raspberry sound. The nearby squirrels who were splashed with his saliva smeared it across their foreheads like war paint. Big Daddy Spud cleared his throat, making a tiny squeak. The other squirrels paused their adoration of the baby. Spud then spoke many things in chitter speak and basically amounted to this. "The squirrel girl is good. 1. She smells like nuts. This means she is wise. 2. She has a tail. This means she is mighty. 3. She speaks the blessed tongue. This means she is big-brained. 4. She fights the dogs for us. This means she is fearless. 5. She is a friend to babies. This means she is not evil." Then Big Daddy Spud climbed up Squirrel Girl as if she were a trunk of a tree, put his paw on her cheek, and tickled her ear with his tail. "Chicky-chit," he said. Doreen's throat closed off. Her eyes got wet. She only just met him, but he too accepted her by her treasured secret name, Squirrel Girl. "Thank you," she managed to say. Dozens of squirrels did the same, one after another, telling her their names and welcoming her into the clan. Chick-a-chit! And when they spoke her name, they called her Squirrel Girl. Doreen was so happy she sniffled, and her vision went fishbowl with the wetness of happy tears. It is a truly magical feeling to be hugged by 100 squirrels at the same time. "Thanks, amigos," said Doreen. "I've never really belonged to a clan." She got too sniffly to say anything more. But squirrels get it. They get emotion. They twitch their tails, and Dante spoke for everyone as he declared, "Gaga booga!" "Anywho," said Doreen after a minute, wiping her eyes, the dogs have been a problem. Tippy and I figured out they're super bugged by these buzzing things that look like..." Doreen cocked her head, listening. She followed a faint buzz to another tiny metal bug, clamped to the side of an old restaurant. "Like this. Let's find and destroy all the bugs in the slot so it can be a safe zone for the dogs. They'll want to stay here where they won't go cuckoo for the high-pitched bug sounds. And then squirrels will be safe from roaming dogs everywhere else. A plan?" Doreen strapped Dante back into her carrier, this time with his belly facing hers, and she began to run. He laid his head on her chest and soon fell asleep, while she located, grabbed, leashed, and hauled the wild dogs back to the empty lot, where the squirrels had cleared out all the strange buzzing metal bugs. Relieved of that awful high-pitched noise, the exhausted dogs curled up and fell asleep. Sleeping dogs, sleeping baby. The strange evening ended on such a restful note. And yet Doreen couldn't relax. Who was MM? And what was their plan?